Question 4 is also a big question for you. Many students haven't even got to this point before their time has run out. Again, this is a 12-mark question, but the added difficulties here are knowing and writing about presentational features, but also comparing between the two sources from the booklet. Question 4 should take about 18 minutes. We are told which sources to compare. Here it's source 1 and source 2. During my reading time, I would have identified and listed the similarities and differences in terms of presentation between sources 1 and 2. I've also got my list of connectives or conjunctions from question 2, my point evidence explain analysis done in the reading time, so I'm already quite well prepared. I must remember though that I need to comment specifically on the presentational features I see in front of me, and must direct everything I write to exactly them and nothing vague and meaningless, and don't talk about language. To start the response to this question, I should make a point about how the form is presented to the audience. I need to comment on the conventions or the expectations of that form. So here we are going to be writing about 2 websites, but in your exam it could be a newspaper article, it may be an advertisement, or any other type of media text. So, what do we expect to see in websites, and what do we see? You should have a list of 3 features minimum from your reading time. What words can I use to describe the feature? And finally, what effect does each convention have on the audience? Both texts use the conventions of web pages, that's the form, to appeal to the audience. For example, both have banners and menu bars, so you talked about the form and presentational features there, which are expected by the audience to help identify what type of text they are reading. So there's the purpose. The banner in source 1 has an arrow effect. So there you've described the presentational device, which suggests moving forward, as the audience would do by following the menu icons, and there's the effect on the audience. However, the banner in source 2 is a block of blue, so you've described it, a colour associated by the audience, so there's your effect on the audience, with the organisation WFP. Now go on to try and write your mini paragraph on the uses of the menu bars or any other convention of a web page which you see in each text. To describe, you only need to identify what some of the menu options are, but always remember to compare. Once we have completed the comparison of the form, which should be 2 paragraphs minimum and gaining about 4 marks, we move on to the other presentational devices, most importantly the use of graphics or photographs in this case. Be aware that simple and obvious comparisons do not gain marks, such as the fact that there is 1 photo in source 1 and 2 photos in source 2. That won't gain you any marks because it's so easy. Instead, you need to analyse the qualities of the photos and compare them. You should have gone quite some way to doing this in the reading section of the exam and may have commented on the representation of people in the photos, which is what I'll complete next to demonstrate what is required. So you might write something like this. Both texts use photographs to represent the people who are the subjects of the articles, but in quite different ways. So you've made a point and a point of comparison. In source 1, Tiny Temper is represented unusually, so there's an effect, for a grime artist, as he's wearing a red woolly jumper, heavy glasses, and is sitting in what looks like a throne. So you've described it and you've talked about a presentational feature. This is unusual because the audience would not normally associate an urban artist with these old-fashioned objects. There's the effect on the audience. However, in source 2, the mothers are presented much more informally, there's your point, with their representation, the presentational feature, being bright and happy with colourful clothes, especially pink, there's a description, and smiles, symbolising how joyful they are, there's your effect, to receive this food from the WFP. You need to do at least 1 more of these comparisons to have a chance of getting the required marks for a C grade.